What is the scariest experience you have ever had online? In 2001 my friends and I joined an Ike channel on the server where we met this lady. Weeks go by of us talking, and one day she tell us to go to another Ike server. Soon it crashes. Then she tells us to go check on some game servers. Soon they start going down as well. Then websites. Kinda like go here and we would be on the website. Then no response, then errors and such. We would then make requests for other game servers or whatnot. It soon dawned on me that this lady had a massive network internet connection and computer at her disposal to be able to DDoS these servers. She showed us how to use VB to script things to spam login attempts or account creating on website, effectively stopping them. Why this scared me so much was the amount of damage this one lady could cause. It opened my narrow view of the internet, at the time, to something much more. Perhaps you, and 1,000 others who were told by a lady to go to her websites, were a part of the DDoS. I can't remember the year, but you can find it if you look on the internet. I was on 4chan when this guy started posting pics of a dead girl. He said he killed her by strangulation, I think. I thought he was just an edgy kid with too much time on his hand that liked gore and snuff. Next day, it was all over 4chan. The guy had killed his ex and left her naked in her apt. Her kid found his mom like that when he got home after school, I think. Disgusting stuff. The first time I illegally downloaded music when I was 10 years old, I was convinced I was going to prison. I told my parents to tell the cops it was an accident. If they came, I hid in my room for half of that day. I printed a picture of Tinkerbell when I was 8 or so, but it had a watermark of the artist's license or whatever saying not to distribute it without the artist's permission. I ripped the picture up into tiny little pieces and threw them away in different trash cans because I thought I broke the law. I was convinced the police were going to arrest me. That old spam email video of an empty room with some kind of caption like "This is where she killed herself," and after 45 seconds of nothing this exorcist looking girl pops up in front of the camera. Middle school. I went online on the game Burnout Paradise. Wasn't sure how it worked because I saw no one else, so I minimized the game and forgot about it. A little bit later I completely forgot about the minimized game and heard a voice. I listened closer and it sounded like two guys. I immediately thought someone was hacking me. My mic was plugged in, so I said, "What are you doing?" The guy goes, "Just looking at your records, dude." I thought like personal bank records, etc. He meant my racing records. I told him to stop and he says something like, "Why dude, you were open," so I panicked and shut my computer down. It took a few minutes for me to actually make the connection. I think this one is my favorite because both parties are completely innocent. Thanks for sharing. I played WoW with a guy who was American, but lived in Japan. Then that tsunami hit, and none of us heard from him again. I got a pop-up once that informed me I had underage pornography on my computer, which I did not, and the police were on their way to my house. It instructed me to call a 1-800 number. When I read the first line of "You have child pornography on your computer," my heart stopped beating and I froze. But then I was like, how would calling a 1-800 number help me? It was then I realized it was a scam. It's still pretty terrifying. Back when I was younger and just learning about computers, I was screwing around on the computer and it errored out saying something along the lines of "The computer has encountered an illegal operation and needs to shut down." I called my dad upset thinking the police were on the way and that I was in trouble. He thought it was hilarious. This might not be the creepiest, but it's weird. When I was in high school, I had this friend from school who I spoke to a lot on MSN, and there was one time this bot added me, in which it claimed it was a counseling bot of some sort, and at that age, I was terribly naive and believed almost anything. So, I would speak to this bot about my problems. Turns out it was this friend all along, who would tell everyone else at school about my problems. Not only did she do this, but she also made up a pen pal who she claimed she spoke to and gave me their email address, when that was also herself. It was her mum who would call me a loner. Weird and a bad influence as well. Whoa, frick those people. There was this prank back in 2004 when people on the internet were asking each other to search for Lolita on Alta Vista Images search engine. As I remember correctly, I had no idea what Lolita means, so I searched for it, and instead of results I got the information telling me that my IP is being tracked and police has been notified because I'm obviously searching for a child porn. As a naive teenager, I was terrified. Played an online game called Habbo when I was 9. Apparently someone hated me and that person made new avatars with variations with my username except with insults in it and copied my outfit every single time. He got kicked a lot, and said person threatened with, "I know where you live, I will find you." I cried. Pools closed, sorry. When I was 13 I had received a phone call. I picked up and it sounded like my dad, and the man said nothing otherwise. Both my mom and I had full-on conversations with this guy for a week straight. He said he's very close to being home, and that we should leave the door unlocked. So we did, and my dad had come back from his trip. My mom had started asking about something he said, and he didn't know what she was talking about. Dad claimed he never spoke to us the whole week as he didn't have reception in the woods. We called the phone company and were told that the lines may have been crossed, meaning that whomever we were speaking to lived on the same street. That's ridiculously terrifying. When my username and passwords started appearing in Russian pastabin files and I was getting emails from "Have I been warned?" I was like a shit. Installed LastPass and had it automate changing all my passwords to random characters and stuff. Turned on two-factor authentication on as many apps websites as I could. I still get emails to this day from Origin in particular of people trying to log into my account from China and Russia. I recently posted this on another thread. This guy I very briefly dated won't leave me alone. I've blocked him on everything, and he keeps finding cracks to slip through. Long story short, he played weird games and I wasn't into it. I told him that I didn't want to talk to him, and to not contact me anymore. He said he wouldn't, then continued to bombard me with spam-like messages about everything from what he was watching on TV to the weather. I blocked him on my phone. Months after doing this, I found a voicemail from him in my blocked messages folder. It was new. He tried friending me on Facebook. I blocked him. He posted a missed connection on Craigslist with my first name and city saying he missed me. He super liked me on Tinder. I've blocked him multiple times in a Cupid. He just deletes the account and messages me on a new one. The last message was Friday. He hasn't seen me since June. I just wonder what crack he'll slip through next, or if he'll try to show up at my home or work. Tell his mom. For real, most times a guy getting a call from their mother that a girl told them he is stalking her and he should stop. He would at least take the request more seriously. I met somebody on a game when I was 15 years old. He was much older than I was, maybe late 20s, and he lived one state away from me. I gave my phone number out to anybody back then. I liked texting people. I was texting this guy and sending him innocent pictures of myself per his request. He started demanding that I send him naked pictures of myself, which I wasn't comfortable with. I stopped texting him because those type of people irritated me. He messaged me with my full address one day and asked me if it was familiar. He told me he was going to hunt me down, kidnap me, rape me and let his dog lick peanut butter off my body if I didn't send him the pictures he wanted. I kept asking him how he got my address, as he only knew my first name. Turned out since we both had Apple iPhones, he could track my location via the pictures I sent him. It was freaking terrifying. I changed my number and haven't given my number out on the internet since. It's not just iPhones. Most pictures have that kind of data attached to them if I recall correctly. It's called EXIF data. There was multiple posts of me on some Chan site asking people in my area if anyone had nudes of me and someone detailed a fantasy of raping me. The part that freaked me out is that they had taken pictures of my face off of social media. I deleted a massive amount of stuff online after that. I was in high school, and I had swollen lymph nodes around my nether regions. I took pictures from all kinds of angles so I could show the doctor after school without having to expose myself in person. Fast forward to computer class, and I'm logging into my Google account to pull up my PowerPoint on the projector. As I'm trying to log into Drive, to my terror, I see 5 thumbnails of my junk displayed in the queue for auto-upload to Google+. Luckily, no one noticed. I was always the weirdo outcast kid, So if the other students caught wind that this happened, my life would have been over promptly. A good rule when using a projector is to extend your screen rather than clone it. The second screen will be blank until you put something on it. I've never seen an opportunity to post a story, so I will now. For context, I'm a girl, so I used to go on this chat room website called Meebo when I was 12. I would visit roleplay based rooms and I would pretend to be 16 years old and would use some very carefully angled photos where I felt it didn't show that I was actually 12 years old and pretty fat. I got into an online relationship with this guy from America who was 23, and although I never went on cam, things got cybersexual and he used to tell me how he would take my virginity one day. It only lasted for 6 months and he was actually pretty sweet. I felt bad that I was lying about my age, but I was awkward looking, unpopular and at an all-girls boarding school, so I guess I just really liked the validation I got from the relationship. So one day he asks me what my address is because he's bought a present that he wants to send to me for my birthday from Japan apparently. Immediately alarm bells start going off and I make up some excuse why I don't want to give my address, although he was pretty pushy about it. After that things felt really weird and I stopped talking to him. I didn't speak to him for like 4 years after, and one day I messaged him and asked him what the present had been, as it had always bugged me. He said he had purchased a plane ticket to the UK to come see me in person for my birthday and that's why he wanted my address, as he was going to surprise me. I told him then that I had lied really heavily about my age, to which he replied, "You don't think I didn't realize you looked a lot younger in your photos? Obviously you weren't 16 inches. I just absolutely hate to think what would have happened if he did turn up and I waddled to the door in my SpongeBob pajamas. That's probably up there in the most unnerving and scary experiences. That and the time a boy made a Tumblr blog about me and messaged the guy I was fooling around with telling him that he shouldn't have deflowered me and that it should have been him to experience those sweet petals. To experience those sweet petals. What an absolutely neckbearded, betrayed nice guy thing to say. I sent a very degrading nudes of myself to a woman who turned out to be a man and threatened to send them to all of my FB friends and colleagues if I don't pay up. The moment that happened my heart dropped, but then I thought, frick it, my sexuality is none of their business, and told the guy LOL get a job. He never sent them. My dad got hit with this. Instead of coming to me, his 20-something son who gets paid to fix electronics, paid out a few grand in ransom. Not quite scary but disturbing. A couple of years ago I disappeared and there were pictures of me on online news. Fine now, mental health issue. They used my Facebook profile pic. I started getting lots of creepy "hey babe" message and dick pics on Facebook from strange old men. I changed my pic and they stopped. The assholes were researching my pic from the news. Gross bastards. Back in 05 I was on a website that said click here for a free cup holder. When I clicked on it my CD drive popped out. That freaked the crap out of me. Knowing that something from a website could control something physically, it messed me up for days. This happened to me too. At first I was confused, then I couldn't stop laughing. I opened my computer the one day to find a bunch of annoying prank-like things changed. Wallpaper upside down, icons shuffled around, mouse settings changed, etc. Along with a text file on my desktop telling me I'd been hacked, how they did it, and tips to improve my security. I wasn't even mad, though a little unnerved. I'm pretty sure I got groomed as a kid. Back in the good old MSN days when I was 11 and new to the internet and just added any old randomer on Messenger to chat to. Ended up talking to this girl ostensibly from Canterbury in Kent. I'm from St. Helens in Merseyside. For non-UK redditors read about 4 hours away. Got to the point where she demanded that I travel down to where she was because I was now her boyfriend. Sent her one picture of me and never received one back from her. Obviously being naive and young at the time I just stopped talking to her somewhere along the line and didn't think anything of it, but thinking back now I'm pretty sure that was a pedophile. Don't like the thought of being an anonces wonk bank tbh. I cringe when I think of all the probable pedophiles I spoke to on MSN and online chat rooms when I was a kid. I was browsing hentai for the first time as a frisky teenager and a warning. This is the insert town I live in, police. Call this number now tab opened. I was scared shitless until I realized if I was in trouble from the police, why would they force open a tab in my browser? It's best when you get one from the FBI and don't live in America. Does over the phone count? From the dial-up days, I once was talking with my sister in the kitchen when the phone rang. Caller had said unknown number. I picked it up, and all I heard was a recording of our voices, saying something we had said just a minute earlier in our conversation. After about 15 seconds of it, I suddenly heard this loud static whine screeching noise and then the call cut out. I was thoroughly spooked. When I was a bit more naive about the internet, a pop-up came up from Cheshire Police. I'm from the UK and Cheshire isn't too far from where I live, claiming my computer had been flagged for downloading child P amongst other things. I could not get the pop-up to go away without forcing my computer to shut down. It gave me the option of paying a £100 fine. I booted my computer back up and googled the whole thing. Quite a few forums were talking about it as a scam, and someone pointed out to me that the police wouldn't give you the option to pay £100 to make downloading child P okay, nor would they give you some sort of online warning. I still felt really nervous for a couple of hours before eventually fully accepting I wasn't actually in any sort of trouble, but it was pretty scary when it popped up. Just to be clear, I absolutely have no downloaded nor viewed child P in any way. Late to the thread, but what the heck. Story time. My time to shine. This was nearly 20 years ago, when I was 11 years old, back in the days of dial-up internet, back when 15-second P clips were 240p and got the job done. I used to save them to floppy drives. Anyway, I was 11, and my parents went to a wedding out of state for 10 hours. I figured it was the perfect time to start perfecting my masturbation techniques. I found this website, and I'll never forget the URL even 19 years later, nudecelebs.com. This was such a joke, but man did I have the hots for Britney Spears. Anyway, I went on the website, clicked yes a bunch of times, and what I didn't realize was that the website's dialed out overseas. I called my friend who lived across the street and told him, hey, found this website with P. He was all excited and enjoyed the same fun that day. 2 weeks later I get a phone call. It was my friend. He was grounded. He said he got a bill in the mail for $400 for going on that website. My heart nearly sank into my balls. I went white. I had a panic attack. I nearly cried. I asked him how long he spent on it. He said 30-40 minutes. I was on it for like 4 hours, exploring P. Few days later, as I was sweating it out, I overheard my mother scream from downstairs. $2,600 for what? I got the call to come downstairs. I went down, 11 years old, crying, ashamed, embarrassed, dead man walking. They took one look at me, said to go back upstairs. I never got yelled at. I was never punished. They knew I had learned my mistake and to never repeat it. Couple years later my father told me they never had to pay the bill. My mother threatened to sue them for making it so easy for an underage kid to be able to access that material. So they dropped the costs and stopped asking for the money. It was squashed. Man, I haven't mentioned this story in over 10 years, and I'll never forget it. This is a good story. Thanks for sharing. My real name got exposed on 4chan and lots of people started attempting to contact my family saying I was into child P and crap for the lulz or whatever 4chan does. I was really nervous, but the person they actually found was someone different in my town with the same name as me. So really they just made a random person have a lot of explaining to do. I feel bad if anyone actually contacted that dude's family. Not scary exactly, but made me keep a gun closer to me for a bit. This was like 2010. StarCraft 2 had just come out. I was arguing with a dude that was raging and threatening me. There was brief pause in the conversation and I thought it was over. Then he came back and said, hello, actually IRL name. You still think I can't find you? You think you can hide from me? I told him I wasn't hiding and he should walk through my front door because I left it unlocked for him. To this day I have no idea how he found out my real name. This one isn't too scary, but it was weird as heck. My friend and I used to troll around Omegle all the time. One night we got matched up with two random dudes in a dark room and one of them looks into the camera and says, hey, is that girl's name Sarah? We quickly realized we'd been matched with her abusive ex-boyfriend. Out of all the people, she'd spent years trying to get away from this guy and was a little shaken up. We quickly exited Omegle and haven't been on since. You should have checked the exclude ex-boyfriends checkbox. I had someone hack my computer once. They went through my pictures and sent me Windows alerts saying I was cute and shouldn't be looking at the things I was. I was maybe 15 at the time. I made a paint file asking them to leave me alone and saved it titled something like "To My Hacker." I still have no idea how they did this or what even happened. Can someone that is computer smart explain it? When I first started college, I used to go to chat rooms all the time. I still talk to some of the people I met online and have met several in real life. There haven't been any problems and some have been my best friends for over a decade. There was one, however, that I still get freaked out when I think of. He said his name was Ryan, but I highly doubt that now. I had spent several weeks talking to him in our private chat room channel. He was really nice, asked me about my day, what my likes were, what I wanted to do after college, etc. I really liked him because I had never had a real boyfriend and struggled with self-esteem. I was working at the local gas station part-time while I went through college. One day, a vase of 24 roses got delivered with a note in it signed for me. My supervisor brought them to me and my jaw hit the floor. I had never told Ryan where I lived. A few hours later, the phone rang and my supervisor answered it. It was Ryan. She asked me if I wanted to talk to him. I was so scared, but I felt like it would be stupid to ignore someone who had found out where I worked. I said hello and someone that was definitely not the age he had told me. He had said he was 20, but this voice sounded like someone my dad's age, asked, "Did you like the roses?" I cordially said thanks, but that I couldn't stay on the phone since I needed to get back to work. He said it was okay and he'd talk to me later. I had a friend spend the night with me that night. I didn't tell my parents what was going on because I had always hated that I talked to people online. The next morning, I was scheduled to work at 8 AM. The gas station opened at 5:30 AM. I got a phone call from supervisor around 7 AM asking if I could come in early because no one had showed up to open the store. One of the regular early birds had called her to say the store wasn't open. I remember looking at my friend and thinking, oh my god, Ryan killed them and is waiting for me to get there. Turns out, the opener had just overslept. Ryan had nothing to do with that, but I ceased all communication with him from that point on. Fortunately, that was the last I heard from him. I didn't join any more new chat rooms after that. I stuck with the people I already knew. Could have turned out a whole lot worse and I know I'm lucky. As a parent of a 20-something, that always scares the crap out of me. I constantly remind her if she feels something isn't right, get the hell out and contact us. Whether she is in the house or thousands of miles away, we will do whatever it takes to get her to safety. This might be dumb. When was 13, me and my little cousin were playing Mvu, a crappy online dating sim that his sister had downloaded. We were looking to get into some lesbian stuff, playing as a female, and start flirting with this other female avatar. At some point the other person asks where we live. Being not so dumb, we claim that we are in the next province over where I live. We return the question and it turns out this person lives in the same town where we currently are, meaning near my cousin's place. It's a really small town, so we mention being familiar with it. Turns out the other player is down the road from us. We get seriously creeped out and just logged off. This was many years ago and was the first fricked up thing I saw on the internet. It was a Chinese guy dismembering and preparing a baby, cooking it and eating it like chicken. Found out much later it was photoshopped. I remember that too. I asked my parents about it rather innocently and they were absolutely dumbfounded that I brought it up. The internet man. Not me, but a lesson on why you should be careful about what you say and do online. So if you haven't heard of a website called YouNow, it's a place where you live stream and people watch. I don't really get the point of it, but it's fun and easy to troll. One day I stumbled across a girl who was pretty young. She was crying and saying how someone she thought was a friend was spreading lies on YouNow. I go find the other girl and she is saying nasty stuff, like I hate the bee. I was only her friend so I could ruin her life easier. I was like, dang, that's cold. So I decided to step in. The mean girl's username was her first and last name. She was also wearing a sweatshirt with her school's name on it. After a short Google search I found her Facebook and email accounts. I sent her an email telling her to be nicer. I then dug around and found out all sorts of random details. her number on the softball team, her dance club's name, and her parents' name and phone numbers, which after some more googling I found out where they worked. I then screen capped some mean stuff she had Snapchatted the first girl. She showed her phone screen to the camera. I started telling her in the chat to calm down or I'd text her mom what she had been saying. She called my bluff and I sent her an email with all the information I had. Then in the Yo Now chat I told her to check her emails, which she did. She started crying and apologizing. I ended up texting the mom the screenshots and then promptly blocked her number. I never found out the end of it, but I hope the bullying stopped. It was scary to me how easy it was to find all that information. 1. Someone had posed as me on a dating site, which was odd. 2. My friend opened a chat roulette on my computer. Instead of the classics, guys jerking off, some girl who was younger than me, I was 17 and she was probably 13, started undressing really freaking fast before I could do a thing. I was high and got super paranoid about getting busted about child pee or something. Also, I felt really bad for that girl if she spends her time like that in a place with so many creepy people. Probably a recording. Making throwaway account because I'm pretty sure this person might use Reddit. Anyway, I play World of Warcraft and roleplay on it. There's a popular server I go on. This was around a year ago, but there used to be a person who was very popular on the server. On this server, everyone's pretty close, and it's easy to make friends. Most of my friends were from the game. It was believed though that this popular person was apparently an attractive girl, and they regularly told people they were. In truth, they were actually a guy who looked like a girl, and I'm not sure if they were truly trans or not, which isn't an issue of course, but they certainly used it to their advantage, as you'll soon see. We'll call him M. Anyway, M became close with a good friend of mine, who we'll call D, who happens to be underage. M got a lot of information out of D, with the pretense that she could be trusted because she was also a girl. M found out D's entire name and address and learned that D had done some things she regretted. M basically tried to blackmail D to sending nudes, or else they would message her parents about the stuff she told them. D was very depressed at the time, and I think M knew this, seeing her as an easy target. Thankfully, she told M to frick off, but not without being hurt over it, obviously. Apparently M has done this to several different girls on the server, and one actually did send nudes. All the girls had some form of depression. I'm an older woman, and although I was somewhat friends with M, and we talked here and there, they thankfully never tried any of this crap with me. After this blew up, they pretty much disappeared, and stopped posting on their art pages. It's scary to think that even in such a friendly community there are predators like this trying to take advantage of emotionally upset people. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.